S.H.Figuarts Dragon Ball Z Frieza's second form was released on the 24th of April as a Premium Bandai Web exclusive and retails for 9,000 yen or $90. Frieza was available on both Premium Bandai US and Japan, and like many of Tamashii's recent web exclusives, is a worldwide same-time delivery release. So if you order through Bandai, Frieza should be arriving pretty soon, if not at your doorstep already, like right now. Go check. I'll wait. So just a fun bit of trivia to get things going. Tamashii actually released First Form Frieza here in April 2021, the very same date 2 years ago. Coincidence? Probably. Does it mean anything? Probably not. But I thought it was just a good way to start the review to one of my most anticipated figures of the year. The other two being the amazing Figuarts Turles, which still blows my mind, and Future Trunks 3.0, which I'll have a review of as soon as I get him in hand. I'm really excited for Trunks. I just know it's going to be a phenomenal figure. And speaking of phenomenal figures, woo! Look at this big boy right here. If you loved Cooler, then you're going to absolutely love this one too. It's like Tamashii took everything that was good from this figure and put it into Second Form Frieza. Not to say that Second Form Frieza is a retool or anything, it's certainly its own figure, but the engineering, the amazing sculpt work, the plastic quality, all of that really good stuff we got from Cooler, it's all in here too. In terms of height, shoulder to shoulder, they are pretty much the same, but Frieza does have a longer neck, which makes him a tad taller. And just like Cooler, Frieza has a very nice heft to it. The plastic feels premium, the joints are smooth, and it's just really nice to pose it around and hold in your hands. I absolutely love the proportions on Frieza, which is why Second Form Frieza is probably my favorite, aesthetically speaking anyway. It's so reminiscent of King Cold, which is another character we need a figure of. Frieza has those big, broad shoulders, huge chest that tapers down to his waist. The legs are thick and powerful looking, not too short in my opinion, and those feet look like they can do some real damage. I love the way that the feet are sculpted. They're big and chunky and have some very nice definition to them, not flat looking, which was one of my complaints about Imperfect Cell. When you turn Frieza around, you have his iconic tail with all those lines there sculpted in, and the tip of the tail being a nice glossy bright purple. The tail is broken up into 3 sections for articulation at the base, midsection, and tip. The tail is massive, and because of the 3 ball hinges, you can get it to move into pretty much any position you want. The tip of the tail can also be swapped out with this tail stump plug. Instead of giving us a whole new tail, I guess this is a pretty easy and hassle-free way to recreate Frieza's tail when it gets cut off by Krillin. I want to go back to the sculpt work for Frieza because what Tamashii have done with integrating all the cuts for articulation into the sculpt work makes for a seamless looking figure, especially the upper half. When you look at the shoulders, it almost seems like they're not even going to move at all, and it doesn't even hinder any of the shoulder articulation, which is fantastic. Just really great engineering. I really like what they've done here. There's no gap between the shoulder pads. There's no gap between the shoulder pads and how it connects to the torso. The shoulder pads slide out and up when you move the arms upward, making for a smooth transition between the two pieces. I like the contrast between the flat matte finish of Frieza's body and the glossy bright purple areas. Tamashii have used the same color palette from First Form Frieza, making for a consistent look when you have both figures standing next to each other. I'm assuming Tamashii will use the same coloring for Third Form Frieza as well. Most of the figure is molded colored plastic, with the exception of the brown areas and his forearms and legs and glossy purple sections. Now to those devilishly handsome looking head sculpts. We get 4 in total, and when we're talking Frieza, we're talking sinister, maniacal faces. Tamashii have given us a good selection to choose from, including a standard stern face, an angry face, and a truly evil smirk and laughing face. I absolutely love how anime-esque these expressions look, ripped straight from the anime. The printing is crispy clean, the details are sharp, the purple dome is reflective, shiny, and those horns, if you're not careful, can really do some hurting. So do be careful when handling. These horns are really pointy. Alright, so let's take a look at the articulation, and there really isn't anything that's limiting Frieza from moving as well as he does. Like I said, the shoulders are great. Maybe the ab articulation, maybe, but even then, it's still pretty good. So we're going to jump right into it and have a look at the head articulation. So Frieza does look up very well. Good for your in-flight poses. And he can bury his head really deep into his chest. Look at that, fantastic. You know, you don't have any problems looking left and right. And a big part of that is, you know, this neck joint here. So you can get him to tilt left, you can get him to tilt right as well. Just really good range in the neck and the head. So like I mentioned, these shoulder pads here do move up, do hinge up and down. And again, because it does, these pieces do extend out, there is no gap, which looks fantastic. The shoulders do move up way past 90, which is great. And we do get really good butterfly joints. Look at that. Look at how far that extends forward. I mean, yes, you do get this huge gap there at the back, but I mean, like, I guess you could, you know, have Frieza crushing Krillin, giving him a crushing hug there, but really fantastic butterfly joints. We do get 360 rotation, and oops, there goes my shoulder pad. 360 there at the shoulders. Upper bicep swivel. Again, these joints are silky smooth. Nothing feels overly tight. Nothing is loose. We get double elbows, hinges, and swivels at the wrist. So looking at the torso, it is broken up into two pieces, the upper and the lower torso, but we don't get too much range in the upper torso. And just let me get that to focus. Sorry, guys. I mean, it's a bit of swivel, and you can get a bit of tilt, like so. But most of the articulation is in that lower ab crunch there. And like I said, I mean, we do get some ab crunch, and he can bend, you know, about that much forward, which is pretty good, I think. And about that much back. One thing to note is that this purple piece here does, I guess, recess in like a groove there. I don't know if you can see it. So if you do decide to use that upper torso joint, it does leave a bit of a gap there. But yeah, like I said, most of the movement there is going to be, you know, your swivels, your crunches, your tilts are going to be in that lower torso joint. But it works really well. So for the legs, splits out about that much. It's decent. Back and forward, perfect 180. We get an upper thigh cut. Again, the legs, really smooth, really nice joints. Double knees. And for the feet, it is a ball joint. We do have like a ball joint and socket going in to the into the calf there, but you get this huge ball hinge as well. So you do get some really good ankle pivot, as well as, you know, moving your feet up and down like so. So yeah, really good feet articulation there as well. And as I showed earlier, the tail is broken up into 3 sections, and look how long that is. Wow. Your base, your middle, and your tip. And all of these joints are your, you know, your typical ball hinges. So you can get Frieza, you know, to move his tail in pretty much any position that you want. So yeah, The articulation setup is very similar, or I mean, I guess the body setup is very similar to Cooler, which means the articulation on this guy is fantastic. A lot of fun to pose, and more importantly, the joints feel nice and firm. They're not too tight. They feel smooth, and yeah, it's just going to give you a lot of fun posing this figure. For accessories, we get a good selection of goodies that will help you recreate most iconic scenes from the anime and manga. Starting with the hands, we have 2 fists, 2 open flat palm hands, a set of relaxed hands, and a right 2 fingers hand. In addition to hands, we also get a set of interchangeable feet, again for some posing options. And I mean, you can't have a Frieza release without having some optional feet. If you can remember, in the anime, second form Frieza does get his tail cut off by Krillin's Kienzan. So Tamashii were thoughtful enough to include a cut-off tail stump plug, I guess you can call it. And it's as easy as just popping off the full tail tip and replacing it with the cut-off stump. And last but not least, we also get the 4-star glowing Namekian Dragon Ball. And just to give you guys a quick look, this will be the second last Dragon Ball, I believe. The last one coming from third form Frieza, which will be released later this year. It's nothing that we haven't seen before. It's that same orange glowing effect. And just a little bonus, I guess, for the second wave of Namek Frieza Saga figures in this line. I've said this in the past, but I feel Tamashii have a knack for making larger scale characters work. A lot of their smaller scale releases don't always do it for me, but when it comes to your Coolers, your Birders, your Rakums, your Brolys, it's always a home run for me. Whether the Frieza Namek Saga means anything to you or not, this is Tamashii at its finest. Everything you could want in a premium action figure. He's big, he's chunky, he's faithful to the source material, and poses like a charm. You've got all the accessories you want for those iconic scenes, and it's second form Frieza in figure form, and we'll be getting a third form later this year. To me, that's incredible, but more importantly, I think it really opens up the doors for a King Cold, a Mecha Frieza, which Tamashii has teased, a semi-imperfect Cell, and pretty much anything else you can think of. At this stage, if it doesn't have a figure already, it'll definitely happen sooner or later. The S.H.Figuarts Dragon Ball line is just too big right now to slow down. So is second form Frieza perfect? Honestly, I don't have any complaints about the figure whatsoever. To me, this is the perfect release from Tamashii. I couldn't be happier with what we got here, and I love it just as much as Cooler. And for everyone who's been following me for this long, you'll know what that means. The price tag, on the other hand, I feel is a tad on the high end, since we got Cooler for $20 less, which I think is equal to its weight in terms of plastic. This release is pretty darn fantastic and is definitely in my top 5 figures of 2023 so far. I highly recommend this release, especially if you love Dragon Ball Z, and even more if you've been looking forward to completing all your forms of Frieza. I've got high hopes for third form Frieza, and even higher hopes of seeing every other form of every other villain that's still missing from our collections. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. Again, Trunks and Vegeta will be coming next week, so make sure you come back for those 2 reviews as well. I am super pumped for Trunks, and I'm really looking forward to giving a comparison between the old and new Vegeta. Till then, take good care of yourselves out there, be good to your mums, and as always, yoroshiku!